There exists an ancient manuscript, shrouded in mystery, whispered about in secret circles, and nearly erased from history. A scripture so profound that those who studied its verses claimed to glimpse the very blueprint of the soul's final passage. It is said that within its pages lies the key to understanding what happens after death, not as mere speculation, but as an intricate map, charting the soul's path through realms unseen. But why was this knowledge hidden? Who sought to obscure these sacred truths? And more importantly, what does this lost wisdom reveal about our own destiny beyond this life? For centuries, civilizations have spoken of an afterlife, a place of reckoning, renewal, or rebirth. From the Egyptian Book of the Dead to the Tibetan Bardo Thodol, many cultures have attempted to grasp the journey of the departed. Yet, one scripture remains largely unknown, a relic of a time when spiritual knowledge was passed down in whispers, not written in stone. Tonight, we will embark on a journey into the forgotten texts that unveil the soul's true path. We will uncover why this scripture was lost to time, what secrets it reveals, and how its wisdom can reshape our understanding of life, death, and the eternal voyage beyond. Stay with me as we illuminate the veiled passages of a sacred text, one that may change how you see existence itself. Throughout history, humanity has sought to understand what lies beyond the threshold of death. From the towering pyramids of Egypt to the hidden monasteries of the Himalayas, seekers of truth have chronicled visions of the afterlife, fragments of a grander cosmic journey. But among these scattered teachings, one sacred text was buried beneath time's relentless tide, its knowledge nearly lost to the ages. This scripture, whispered about in esoteric circles, is said to predate even the Vedas and the Hermetic scrolls. Some believe it was part of an ancient spiritual tradition, older than recorded civilization itself, a wisdom tradition passed down through secretive priesthoods, mystic orders, and wandering sages. Others claim it was deliberately suppressed, hidden away by those who feared its power. Echoes of its teachings can be found in the Egyptian Book of Coming Forth by Day, which speaks of the soul's trials after death. The Tibetan Bardo Thodol describes a series of celestial encounters where the soul is tested and guided. Even the Gnostic texts, discovered in Nag Hammadi, hint at a forgotten doctrine of ascension, where the soul must break through the illusions of the material world to return to its divine origin. Yet, the scripture we are about to explore is different. It does not merely describe an afterlife, it reveals a process, a step-by-step journey the soul must take. It tells of unseen forces that guide or hinder the traveler, of luminous gateways and shadowed realms, of choices that determine one's ultimate fate. Why has this knowledge been obscured? Some claim that organized religious authorities feared its implications, that it would free individuals from dogma and place divine power back into their own hands. Others suggest that only the most spiritually prepared were meant to receive this wisdom, lest it be misused or misunderstood. Whatever the reason, the echoes of this lost scripture remain, hidden in symbolism, scattered across mythologies, waiting to be pieced together. And now, we will attempt to do just that. What does this forgotten text reveal about the soul's final journey? What trials await beyond the veil of death? And most importantly, how can this knowledge prepare us for our own inevitable passage? Let us step forward into the heart of this mystery. The lost scripture, known in whispers as the Codex of the Luminous Path, describes the soul's journey in precise, almost scientific terms, mapping out the phases one must traverse after death. Unlike other texts that speak in metaphor or allegory, this one is direct, detailing the mechanics of the transition with a clarity that is both startling and profound. The first stage is called the unbinding. In this moment, the soul experiences a great disorientation. The senses, once bound to the physical body, begin to stretch beyond their former limits. Some describe this as an overwhelming flood of light and sound, while others report a serene silence, as if suspended in a great cosmic ocean. Here, the soul faces the first great challenge, the illusion of form. Many, still attached to their earthly identity, struggle to let go. The text warns of souls that become entangled in the echoes of their own reflections, mistaking their past life's memories for reality. This, it says, is where most get trapped, lingering in self-created dream worlds, endlessly replaying the emotions, fears, and desires they carried in life. But for those who awaken, there comes a second trial, the gate of reflection. The scripture speaks of an invisible threshold where the soul is shown the totality of its life. But unlike a simple recollection, this experience is said to be immersive. The soul feels the impact of every action it has ever taken, not from its own perspective, but from the perspective of others. Every joy given, every pain inflicted, is experienced firsthand. This is not a judgment imposed by an external deity, but an inner reckoning, a balancing of energy. The scripture describes this as the soul, weighing itself upon the scales of its own making. Those who resist, unwilling to face their own truth, may fall into what the text calls the veil of shadows, a liminal space where souls wander, unable to move forward, caught in cycles of regret. But those who accept what they see, who surrender to the truth of their existence, find themselves before the luminous guide, a radiant presence that does not speak in words but in waves of understanding. Some traditions call this being an angel, others a bodhisattva, and some say it is merely a projection of the higher self. The guide presents a choice: to move forward into the higher realms of light, or to return, rebirth, not as punishment, but as an opportunity to refine, to correct, to grow. Yet, beyond this stage, the scripture speaks of even deeper mysteries, realms beyond the cycle of death and rebirth, thresholds that only a few have ever crossed. And so, we must ask, what lies beyond the gate of reflection? What awaits those who choose to ascend rather than return? Beyond the gate of reflection, the soul enters what the lost scripture calls the corridor of echoes, a place where reality itself bends, shifting between past, present, and future. Time, as we know it, dissolves. The scripture describes this as walking through a hall of mirrors where every reflection is a life once lived, a choice once made, a fate once sealed. This is the moment of recognition, where the soul no longer identifies itself as a single lifetime but as an eternal traveler across many incarnations. Here, one sees the patterns that have repeated over centuries, the karmic threads that have woven together to form its journey. But then, a greater mystery unfolds. The text describes a phenomenon known as the dissolution of the veil, an experience so profound that few souls ever reach this stage. It is said that those who do are confronted with the greatest truth of all. The self is an illusion. For lifetimes, the soul has clung to identities, names, and forms. Even in the afterlife, it has believed itself to be something, a person, a spirit, a traveler. But here, all boundaries vanish. The soul experiences what the scripture calls the great unfolding, a moment where it expands beyond all concepts, merging into what some traditions have called the divine source, the infinite light, or the primordial consciousness. It is here that the final choice is made. The scripture speaks of two paths beyond this point. The path of return. A soul may choose to re-enter the cycle of existence, but with full awareness. These are the souls who return as sages, teachers, or enlightened beings. They are no longer bound by karma, but act out of pure wisdom and compassion. The path of dissolution. The soul may choose to merge fully with the divine, dissolving all sense of separateness. In this state, individual consciousness ceases to exist, replaced by an eternal presence that is both everywhere and nowhere. Some call this nirvana, the absolute, or the source of all things. But there is a third, more enigmatic path, one that the scripture only hints at. It speaks of souls who become watchers of the threshold, beings who exist between form and formlessness, guiding others through the journey without ever truly leaving it. These are the unseen guardians, the whisperers in dreams, the ones who nudge humanity toward awakening. And so, the question remains, what is the true destiny of the soul? Is it to return, to dissolve, or to stand at the edge of eternity as a silent guide? The ancient scripture does not simply describe the soul's journey as a passive experience. It provides a blueprint for preparing oneself in this lifetime. It teaches that the way we live now determines the ease or difficulty of our transition through the gate of reflection, the corridor of echoes, and ultimately, the dissolution of the veil. Here are the 3 key practices revealed in the text: rituals and meditations designed to awaken the soul before death, ensuring a conscious transition into the afterlife. 1. The ritual of lucid release, mastering the art of letting go. The scripture states, "He who clings to life as a name, a face, and a fleeting moment will walk the corridor blind. But he who releases all before the final breath shall step through as light." In other words, attachment binds the soul, making the transition difficult. To avoid wandering aimlessly in the corridor of echoes, the soul must learn to let go of identity, possessions, even emotions, before death. Each night before sleep, visualize yourself letting go of everything: your name, body, thoughts, desires. Imagine your essence floating beyond the self, observing everything from above. This practice mirrors the experience of death and prepares the soul for the journey ahead. Regularly reflect on what you are still attached to, whether it be fears, grudges, or material desires. Make peace with them now, so they do not weigh you down later. 2. The meditation of mirror truths, gaining clarity before entering the gate. According to the scripture, souls who struggle in the gate of reflection are those who have avoided truth in life. The text warns, to meet the self in death, one must first meet the self in life. This means that those who refuse to acknowledge their own shadows, hidden fears, regrets, or deceptions, will be overwhelmed when confronted with their true reflection after death. However, those who have already faced themselves honestly will pass through effortlessly. Sit in front of a mirror in a dimly lit room. Gaze into your own eyes, not with judgment, but with curiosity. Who is truly looking back? Ask yourself, what have I been afraid to admit? What parts of me have I hidden? Allow emotions to surface without resistance. Write down any realizations that arise. These are the very truths that, if confronted now, will ease your transition through the gate when the time comes. 3. The art of soul navigation, traveling the afterlife before death. The scripture speaks of the travelers, rare individuals who, through practice, could explore the afterlife while still alive. These individuals developed the ability to shift consciousness beyond the body, entering the realms of the soul while fully aware. This practice, found in many ancient traditions, is known today as astral projection, dream walking, or soul travel. The text suggests that those who master this skill in life will have no fear when the time of death arrives, as they will have already walked the path beyond the veil. As you fall asleep, focus on the thought, "I am not the body, I am the traveler." Visualize yourself floating upward, gently detaching from physical form. If you feel vibrations or a pulling sensation, surrender to it. If successful, you may find yourself outside your body, able to explore realms beyond the physical. These experiences train the soul to navigate the afterlife with full awareness. The scripture offers one final teaching. At the moment of departure, do not fight, do not cling, do not fear. Become light itself, and the corridor shall open as a path, not a prison. It suggests that the way we die is the final test. Those who resist will struggle. Those who surrender will ascend effortlessly. Thus, the ultimate preparation is a life lived in awareness, a life where the soul learns, before death, how to release, reflect, and travel beyond itself. But now, the question remains, what happens next? In our conclusion, we will explore the final secret of the scripture, a revelation so profound that it changes not only how we die, but how we live. As we stand at the threshold of understanding, a final revelation from the forgotten scripture emerges, one that shatters the illusion of separation between life and death. The ancient text speaks not only of the soul's journey after death, but of a hidden truth, one that has been concealed from humanity for ages. Death is not an end, nor a beginning, but a return. To what you return, however, depends on what you have become. This means that the final journey is not a one-size-fits-all experience. It is unique to each soul, shaped entirely by one's consciousness at the moment of passing. The three paths beyond the veil. According to the scripture, there are three possible paths after death, each determined by the soul's level of awareness and readiness. 1. The cycle of return, for the unprepared. Those who lived unconsciously, entangled in material desires and unresolved fears, remain caught in the cycle of return, the endless wheel of reincarnation. Their journey through the corridor of echoes is disorienting, and they are eventually drawn back into another physical body, with no memory of what transpired. They are given another chance, but the cycle continues until they awaken. 2. The realm of the ancestors, for the seekers. Souls who lived with some degree of awareness but were not fully prepared for the transition enter the realm of the ancestors, a vast plane where they meet familiar souls, teachers, and guides. Here, they reflect on their life lessons, heal from past experiences, and prepare for their next incarnation or ascension. Some choose to return to Earth to complete unfinished lessons, while others evolve beyond the need for physical existence. 3. The path of liberation, for the awakened. For those who have mastered detachment, self-awareness, and conscious navigation, the final journey leads beyond all realms, beyond form itself. These souls merge into the source, becoming pure consciousness, no longer bound by the illusion of separateness. The scripture describes this state as to dissolve as light into light, to become the breath of eternity. This is the path of true liberation, attained only by those who have prepared while still alive. The final lesson: death is a mirror of life. What this scripture ultimately reveals is that how we die is simply a reflection of how we have lived. If we spend our lives clinging to illusions, running from truth, or fearing the unknown, then death will be a struggle, a confusion, a loss of self. But if we live consciously, embracing truth, releasing attachments, and preparing the soul, then death becomes a transition, a return, a liberation. Thus, the greatest secret hidden within the forgotten scripture is this: do not prepare for death. Prepare for life. For in living fully, death loses its power over you. A final question for you. Now that you have glimpsed these ancient truths, ask yourself, if death were to come tonight, would you be ready? Or would you still have attachments, fears, and unfinished lessons pulling you back? The time to awaken is now. If you wish to explore these mysteries further, share your thoughts in the comments, and let's continue this journey together.